Hello, everybody. I'm back. Kinda. This is just kind of more of an update. So I'm back home. Today we got discharged from the hospital about 4:30. So I'm gonna kind of let you know about what happened through cryptic inference, basically. There's nothing implied. If you can understand it, you understand it. If you can't, you can't. But I'm basically going to kind of tell the story. Day before all this happened, my dad just got his blood work done for his thyroid. Wakes up about 3 in the morning and his kidney counts are completely off. And I don't know what's considered bad, but apparently this was bad. He gets called by his primary physician about 8:30 in the morning and is basically told go straight to the emergency room. We go to the emergency room and the count had risen from 3.4 to 4. And this is alarming to the doctor. So they basically immediately start this treatment, and it's pretty much a man's worst nightmare. And my dad's had this procedure done before, and he dreaded the fact that he would have to do it again. So he's done to get the treatment, and we're left waiting in the ER room for hours and hours and hours. My dad in the treatment is a sense of relieving, but the relieving can cause extreme burning discomfort. And he's having to deal with this for hours. So they give him a muscle relaxant, they give him a spasm control medicine, which is just another form of painkiller. They give him morphine. My dad's on a lot of painkillers, and he's still in a lot of agonizing pain. 7 o'clock rolled around, and they basically, in a sense, based on my description, they kicked us out from the room to the ER department of their main location in our city. But the fucking problem was they put us in the goddamn hallway. We are in the ER department's hallway. We're not in a room. They are completely booked. The hospital wing had no rooms available, and we're pissed because we could have stayed at that remote location and stayed in that room for a few more hours or another day until that fucking room became available. But no, they decided we need the room, you gotta go. And they're a fucking remote location, so they are getting people in that ER for small reasons, and it's not for long stays. So we could have stayed, they just didn't want us to because we were asking a lot of questions to make sure we understood. That's the fucking problem with the healthcare system in the United States. So we're in the hallway for the emergency room, and pretty much the second all this starts going down, I made the determination and decision to not sleep because I had to watch my dad and make sure he was okay. So once we're moved to the ER department, I go home with my mom because we're taking one car at this point. And I get a few things because I know I'm going to be staying here overnight. My dad's on the gurney. It's basically a gurney. And he got I don't know what they're called, but they're basically rafters or blinds to provide a level of privacy while my dad's in the hallway, because my dad's saying, why do you have to put me in the hallway when I have this certain medical condition going on? And all these people are in the hallway with me, and they could have flu, COVID, all that kind of stuff that is very contagious. Are you just basically asking for me to get sick? And we're not happy about it. So this one person is rolled into the same hallway as us, probably several feet away. But thankfully, they're pretty much moved away within half an hour or so. So I'm just, because the hallway is now officially just us in this, well, pretty much at the end of the hallway. The emergency exit is basically right there, and there's nobody else for like maybe 10 feet. I just do my stationary rehab for my ankle, all that stuff throughout the night. I drink probably 10 cups of coffee, 2 energy drinks, just to stay up all night so I can watch my dad. I forgot to mention that when I went home to get my stuff and everything after I raced back, I don't believe in religion, but this would pretty much, if there is a religion, if there is religious proof or whatever, I pretty much hit 15 green lights straight. And if you want to be religious about it, that would basically God's way of saying, get to your fucking dad as fast as possible. So I hit as many green lights as possible. I think I hit maybe 1 red light. I get to the hospital, I look at my dad, he looks yellow. He said he feels faint, and I'm nervous I'm internally nervous as shit, but I know I can't externalize that. So I told him, eat something. I give him a croissant. Eat this now and drink a soda. He drinks a Diet Coke. His color comes back, so he's okay. The night continues on. It's about 3-something in the morning. We finally get moved to an emergency department room. So now at least we're in a room of some kind. My dad gets situated. I bring all our stuff into the room. I get situated. I'm still stressed as all hell from the entire day. And it's in the middle of the morning, so I go for a 4-mile run, and I have a sprained ankle. But I knew I needed to do, one, I wanted to exercise so I could get my ankle more rehab, but at the same time, I needed stress relief. So, go for a 4-mile run, takes half an hour, and it's about a minute slower than my normal pace, which is fine. I get back. I've been up probably about 22 hours at this point. It's probably 4:30 in the morning, just past that. I decide to change my clothes. I lay down and I officially, I guess emotionally and psychologically, just click off and pass out. I'm coming in and out of consciousness. I wake up and it's basically almost 10 in the morning. I go to the cafeteria. Sadly, they're closed. We missed breakfast. We were supposed to have it delivered to us for free because that's part of the hospital treatment. Where the fuck is breakfast? It was supposed to be here basically when breakfast started at 7 fucking a.m., but it's not even here yet. 11:30 comes around, he finally gets his fucking breakfast. All it is basically 2 eggs, pan-seared, a couple of slices of bacon, and a bowl of fucking grits. What kind of fucking breakfast is that? I get some people can't really have a big appetite, but that's not my dad's situation right now. He needs food. At the night going on, he's trying to take less and less painkillers because it's going to constipate him. And in a hospital situation, you need to be able to have movement if you want to be discharged sooner, because it tells the doctors your body is functioning normally. Then the hospital doctor comes in and he basically tells my dad, instead of the 25 long-acting Toprol, you're going to take 50 and 50. 50 in the morning, 50 at night, or later on into the evening. My dad does it. So basically 100. And then along with all the other pain medicines still in the system, all of them having the side effect of being dizzy, create what I consider the most horrifying and scariest part of the entire situation, of the entire experience, of the entire stay. I was shaking violently on the outside, but inside I was ready to flip a freaking lid. But on the outside I had to, even though physically shaken beyond belief, I had to be as composed as I possibly could for my dad's sake. And what happened was, he had the movement, great. Second attempt, tried to have a movement. he strains a lot, so it makes blood rush to his head. So whenever my dad goes to the restroom, I go with him to make sure he's okay. He stands up, and then all of a sudden he turns around after wiping, and he says, I'm lightheaded, I feel dizzy. All of a sudden my dad starts leaning forward, falling forward, not just leaning forward, he falls forward, but he catches himself on the wall. And I tell him, Dad, put all your weight on me. But this is where it gets horrifying for me. He had lost consciousness standing up. I didn't know. And I'm telling him to put all his weight on me. Put his arm around around me, so I could grab him by the arm, support his body, and I could lug him, right? He starts falling fucking backwards. So I'm about to wrap his arm around me to grab him, but he's falling backwards. I completely lose control of my dad, and he's heading for the wall, backwards, unconscious, standing up. And this is the second time I'm recording this, so actually the first time I cried because I got really emotional, and it still bothers me talking about it, but he starts falling backwards. I gotta grab him. I gotta manhandle my dad's unconscious body as he's tumbling to smash his head on the wall. And I grab him by the elbow and shoulder. My dad's 6'5", 225 pounds. I'm 5'7", 165 pounds. He got 100 pounds. He got almost 100 pounds on me. And I have a sprained ankle. But at this point, fuck my body, fuck my ankle, fuck everything. I tap into what everybody calls hysterical strength. And I manhandled my dad's falling body from a straight backward fall. I turn him 90 degrees to the right. The bathroom door's open. He's heading for the door now. And I don't want him to smash his head, because that's the worst thing you could have happen. A hit to the head in the hospital setting is the worst scenario. And I muster more strength, and I turn him 130 degrees. Avoid the door. I get him. He takes a little bit of a bang laying down, but it was not as bad as it could have been if it wasn't for me literally grabbing him with everything I had and controlling his descent, basically. And he's now laying on the floor, and I'm certified in CPR, so I'm slapping my dad awake to get a response, because in most cases, you gotta see if they're responsive before you start CPR. So I'm slapping my dad. Dad, are you okay? And all of a sudden, I hear mumbling, and then he looked at me, and I see his eyes focus right on me, and I knew at that moment that my dad had gotten consciousness back. But at the same time, because I'm one person, I knew I couldn't pick my dad up off the floor. So once he was down and he was not hitting his head and everything, and I got him responsive, I just screamed, I need some help over here. And not in a non-panic fashion, I just yelled loudly, I need help here. And then 5 people come running to help me. Somebody comes rushing with a wheelchair. 2 nurses grab my dad by the arm. I get him like a little bit responsive. He's like, oh, what's going on? What happened? And I was like, you just passed out. You're on the floor. And we pick him up. And as we're picking him up, stage 2 of the nightmare begins. All the blood leaves his skin. He goes yellow. It looks like he's suffering from full-blown jaundice disease. He looks like he belongs in a Simpson movie. He's so yellow. His eyes start to roll. His jaw drops open, and then I hear, and that sound triggered an immediate memory of when my dad told me about a story of when he was young. He was in the hospital. He was under, and he started choking on his tongue. And as soon as I heard that sound, it triggered that thought, that memory of my dad. And he told me what my grandfather did to save his life was reach in my dad's mouth and pull his tongue out so he didn't choke on his tongue. And I was thinking to myself, I gotta pull my dad's tongue out of his throat because he's choking on his tongue right now. But at the same time, my dad's halfway into this chair. He can't. If we let him go, he's just gonna slide right off the chair again. I'm like, get him in the fucking chair first. Now, pick him up with everything you got. If you break your ankle in the process of picking up your dad to get him in the chair, break it. I don't care. And we got him in the chair, and and I am physically and visibly shaken. My mom's watching on the side, and I can only imagine what's running through her head. But soon we get him in the chair again. CPR reflexes kicking. Get him responsive. See if he is responsive. And I'm slapping his face again, and he responds, and he's like, he again mumbles, and then he asked me what happened. I told him, you just passed out again. He passed out 3 times in a span of 2 minutes. And so we get him back into the room. He stabilizes, he gets the color back and everything, and that's great. But you can imagine the horror that is on my face, running through my mind, and how physically shaken I am from this. And I'm telling the closest friends I know, because I've never seen my dad pass out in my entire life. It's completely uncommon. But so now nurses won't even let him go to the actual restroom, which is 5 feet away from the bed. And I understand it, but at the same time, I can understand my dad's frustration about it, because he's finally calm and stabilized, and he said, this is why this happened. And he's right. And what happened was, because of all the painkillers, the quadrupled basically dosed Toprol caused low blood pressure. He was already severely dehydrated, and the side effect of dizziness. It was the perfect cocktail to say, I want to pass out, standing up. And it happened. And so we get him situated, we get him taken care of. He's finally okay. And this is gotta be just around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Time ticking. We see the kidney doctor, we see the hospital doctor. By the way, the hospital doctor, the one who prescribed the increased dose of Toprol for my dad's blood pressure, but at the same time, he didn't know his medical history, and my dad kind of gave him a fair warning, like, I don't think this is the right thing I need to do. But the doctor thought at the time it was the right thing to do. And thus my dad passed out, and it caused a nightmare situation for me that I will never forget in my entire life. So kidney doctor rolls in. He's talking to my dad, basically saying, well, your points are dropping, which is great. It's not dropping as fast as I want it to, but they're dropping. And every time they're doing blood tests on my dad, those same kidney points and everything are dropping, so that's great news. 7 o'clock rolls around. Near that, we're supposed to have dinner brought to us by the room service. They never come. We're calling them and basically saying, like, what the fuck are you doing? Where's our fucking food? It's dinner time, and it's supposed to be part of your job and part of the hospital job to provide this service, and you're not. And it's basically, and I'm not going to stereotype, I'm not going to describe, but basically, dude is not wanting to fucking work. So he just, the food's going to be coming. And I say, well, do you know how long? It's going to be there in 10 minutes. 10 minutes passed by. Not fucking there. Okay, fuck you. Who cares? I go get my mom's still with my dad. I'm going to go get us dinner because my dad needs real food at this point. So this way he can start functioning, quote unquote, normally. I get to In-N-Out Burger. I order, pay. 2 minutes later, my dad called me. They're switching us rooms because we're supposed to be in a hospital wing room, and those were not available from the second my dad arrived at the remote location ER room. So they throw us in a fucking hallway. Then they throw us in a fucking ER room. And now they put us fucking... We're getting moved around all this time, and it's just nothing basically helpful. And we're asking 1,000 questions every minute because we want to fucking know. And you can see the visible fucking frustration of the nurses because they're not providing the answers we want when they're perfectly fucking capable. But, so their attitude is rubbing off on us, and then it's just fucking butting heads with these people. We're trying to be respectful, but at the same time, it's your fucking job to provide a fucking service to somebody who is in need. You are a nurse for a fucking reason. I don't care how many thousand times the same question is asked. If that means if you're not answering the question that many times, then that means you're not doing your job right. You need to find out what the fuck is going on. I don't care. It is your job to fucking be able to answer these questions, not just respond with I don't know every fucking time. Or delay by giving some kind of roundabout fucking answer. So we finally get moved to the hospital wing where we were supposed to be put in the fucking first place. But then we got these gun-ho nurses that are just like, super controlling because my dad passed out. My dad had an echocardiogram as well, by the way, because of that, but everything came basically back fine. These nurses are basically like super strict nannies trying to rehabilitate bad behaved kids, and it's not affecting us, it's not working, it's not doing anything. All we're saying, we basically just asking for some fucking slack because we've been basically traumatized through this entire experience, and a hospital is supposed to be feeling like a comfortable base, but it just feels like a fucking prison cell the entire time. And so we get situated in a room. My dad finally eats some food. I finally get to eat a decent relative meal, and then we finally, just basically from psychological exhaustion, passed the fuck out for 3 to 5 hours. We finally have a decent night's sleep in our own personal fucking medical hell. We wake up the next morning. They wake us up a few times for my dad's blood work. Well, not blood work, but his vitals. And 6 o'clock rolls around. I get up. I'm tired as shit. My dad's tired as shit. He's suffering as well. And I'm doing everything I can, even though my brain has officially just been burned to crisp ash. I have no ability to think straight. I have no ability to remember what just happened a minute ago. All I'm running on is pure adrenaline and survival instinct, basically. And the thing that keeps me going is I have to keep my dad okay above all else, even if these fuckers won't. And that's what I do. And so finally, I make sure we're not mixing fucking breakfast this time. 7 o'clock rolls around, cafeteria opens, I go downstairs. I get my dad the biggest fucking breakfast. I get him 2 breakfast omelets. I get him scrambled egg, potatoes, 5 pieces of bacon. I get him, what else was it? I can't remember now because my brain's still fried. But basically, it was a full course meal. And this is what fucking flabbergasted me. It's breakfast. Where are the fucking pancakes and waffles? It's the simplest fucking shit you can make and you don't have that? Why? It's such a simple thing to make and you don't have it. But whatever. Okay. I get my dad his food because I need him to eat something. And then he gets his free breakfast. And he eats those eggs. He liked the bacon with that breakfast better than the bacon that I ordered. Fine, whatever. My dad's it doesn't matter. My dad's eating. I'm happy about that. And so finally, things seem to settle a little bit. Came kidney doctor comes in, he's talking, saying, well, your point only dropped a few this time, and the whole reason why that fucking happened is because my dad passed out. If this hospital doctor didn't give my dad a fucking overdose of Toprol, this wouldn't fucking happen, and this point would be much lower like you wanted it to be, but no. So, he's still being semi-optimistic. We're talking about getting out, discharged, and he said, well, that's not up to me. That's up to the urologist. So we're waiting on that person. Day goes by, nothing from... No, I'm wrong. And pretty much the entire day goes by, and finally, when I'm going back to the house to take care of these damn animals because they decided to leave me a nightmare of accidents, and then I find one of them ate 20 pounds of frickin' dog food. I'm pissed off now. I barely make it home. I fall asleep at the wheel for about 5 seconds. So then I call my friend Ian in Japan, and I told him, dude, you gotta talk to me this entire time because I'm falling asleep at the wheel, and I need to be able to get back to and from the hospital in one piece, so this way... So while I'm gone, apparently urologist finally shows up. Super cold person, apparently, to my parents' description. Very cold, very emotionless, very straightforward, blunt, and negative. And that's not what you want. And I get you should be straightforward, but at the same time, you should keep optimism in your fucking arsenal if you're going to be talking to patients. So, basically, doctor said that night we could leave. My dad thinks we should stay just for another night so he gets extra IV fluids, all that kind of stuff. And it makes sense. It's very understandable. So we do. We scrape through one more night of hell. Next day, kidney doctor rolls in. His entire tone is different. It's more pessimistic. It's more negative. It's more like, well, I don't really know. Your number is only at 2.7 now from 4, which is a big drop. I don't give a fuck who you are. 1.3 points drop is a big drop, considering the fucking day before he passed out entirely. So we're just basically surviving through the day. I'm taking care of my dad. I get him. He gets his free breakfast. I get myself eggs and sausage for breakfast. Things seem to be functioning more normally, but the problem is we're still physically and emotionally fried from all the trauma of the past 2 nights. So it's starting to get later in the afternoon, and we're just thinking, well, I guess we're here for another fucking night. Great. And then apparently, I guess, at lunchtime, I go to get Panera Bread for my dad because we're researching what can you eat with these specific things. And, so get my dad a simple soup, a simple salad, get him, I get the nutrition in the way he needs it right now. So I show up, hospital doctor that gave my dad too much medicine shows up. They have this conversation. Guy kind of turned around now because he realizes it was too much Toprol for my dad, and he kind of a little bit apologetic, but at the same time, he's giving us a lot more slack, so we're talking to him, and pretty much now he's the guy we talk to about getting out of here, and we're asking him about it, and he's like, oh yeah, you're going to be able to go home today. And then we do a little bit more discussing, and so we have our Panera Bread. We're pretty much getting situated. He pretty much says, you're going to be good to go. You're going to get discharged. I'll get the paperwork filed out. We ask him all the remaining questions we have. And finally, after eating, loading my mom's car, because we have both our cars here now, we get everything loaded. And I'm carrying everything I packed since, and then from what my mom brought, all this extra stuff. I'm carrying it all in one trip because I want to get the fuck out of here. And so did my dad. So my dad's eating his lunch. I'm loading the car. I get back. I eat my food. And then head nurse comes in, discharge papers. We sign all that fun jazz. And then they show up with the transport wheelchair because all hospitals, I guess you have to be wheeled out in a wheelchair policy and all that. I don't know. Finally get home. Things start feeling normal. I'm still in overdrive mode because I have to unload the cars. I have to do all this stuff. I end up showering my dad because he can take care of the upper half. It's the lower half that's tougher. Like basically from the side down, I need to take care of because he can't bend because of this specific quote unquote treatment for his kidneys and other stuff. So I'm having to shower my dad and assist him with that. I get him situated. I go to Walmart. I get a bunch of stuff. It's been hell. But I just wanted to basically kind of talk in a cryptic way to get this in a sense out of my system because I am in a sense delirious, not malnourished. I've been eating a whole lot of food, but basically I'm not sleeping. I have not been sleeping well, and obviously everybody knows even with just 48 hours of no sleep, you can become real delirious. You can become very incoherent. Things just don't make sense to you. You lose the ability to remember that kind of stuff. And I'm on that boat, front row, first class, cemented into my seat. And yeah, like I was supposed to have eaten this 3 hours ago, and I haven't because I had to take care of my dad. And believe me, nothing matters more than my dad's health right now. I don't give a crap about me. I will find time to eat. I will find time to take care of myself. But right now, for me, my priority is making sure my dad's good. Because my dad had a lot of trauma experienced in the last 2 to 3, maybe 4 days, and it feels like it's been a month of stuff. So that's basically the gist of what happened. If you can understand the whole point of that story from the cryptic messaging I put in there, great. If you can't, I don't give a shit. So I'm gonna eat this shrimp. I do have 3 episodes. 2 of them are gonna be uploaded the same day, and it's gonna be a little surprise, I guess you could say. So when those get uploaded, probably tomorrow, enjoy. There's one more episode after that of Monster Hunter. I'm basically clearing my plate of everything pre-recorded. I still haven't been able to get the finale of Lies of P that I've recorded with Ian to export, and I've tried 7 times now, and it's a nightmare because it takes a day and a half every time. So I'm basically just freeing up as much memory space by uploading everything I can to my channel. And yeah, so we'll see if this worked this time, but I just thought it was necessary for you to kind of get an understanding of what I've just been through. And yeah, so I'm gonna eat this food. I actually got myself a couple of drinks because I need to take a little bit of the edge off. Do not drink if you're dealing with some relative who is in need. Do not, like, this is still 2/3 full. Like, you can hear how much is in there. This one's not even open yet. When you have family members that are in need, you have to put their need before yours. Because family comes first, and that is very important to me. And I will say that my brother I was adopted with is now dead to me because of what he said to my dad in response to my finding out my dad was going through all this. So that brother to me is dead. I do not care what happened to him. As cold as that sounds, he does not exist. He is out of my life. I have nothing to do with him. I am done. My dad was going through a traumatic experience, and this guy decided to say something else mattered more than my dad. His dad, the guy who adopted and saved him from basically dying in Russia in an orphanage from sickness and illness and all these other things. He had no gratitude. He had no respect. He had no sense of virtue. He has nothing but selfishness, pettiness, and disrespect for everybody around him. So, as cold as it sounds, that's just how it is for me now. My brother is no longer somebody that exists to me. He is gone. He does not exist. He was never born. And some of you might think that too harsh. I don't care. Some of you might be on the same page and understand entirely where I'm coming from. But the bottom line is my dad's life was genuinely in danger at points of this entire experience. And the fact that he basically said something else was more important than that, then I don't know. If you think my brother's right to an extent, and then you have no sense of morals, you have no sense of humanity, you are inhuman, you are just a monster. But if you do agree with me, then you have morals, you have virtue, you have a sense of humanity, you have logic and common sense and understanding. You have the ability to have empathy, compassion, put others before yourself versus putting yourself before others. In that sense, it's like the anime My Hero Academia, where it's one for all and all for one. My brother is all for one. He takes everything for himself, whereas one for all is you take one thing and you spread it for everyone around you. So, yeah. I'm going to leave this one here. I don't know what I'm going to put in the description down below, but I just felt like it was necessary to update everybody, let you know what's going on. Tomorrow, the next episodes and Surprise will be uploaded probably the day after the last one I have recorded, and then hopefully I can get this fucking finale exported and get the next couple of videos edited and set. But yeah, I'm still kind of away for the time being, but at the same time, I'm back home. So just thought I'd let you know.